Donald Trump pardoned a convicted fraudster a few days ago. Trevor Milton, the CEO of Nikola, committed wire fraud and investors lost tens of millions of dollars because of him. In 2024, just a month before the elections, Milton donated $1.8 million to Donald Trump's campaign.
And they say the thing that he did wrong was he was one of the first people that supported a gentleman named Donald Trump for president, and he did nothing wrong, and he's a good person.
Additionally, Bondi's brother represented Milton in court.
I just got a call from the President of the United States, and he signed my full and unconditional pardon of innocence. I am free.
With Trump's pardon, he won't have to compensate shareholders, and he goes free. Now, where have we seen this before? Some people commit fraud and then not only get away with it, but average folks pay the bills. That's right, the 2008 financial crisis. And we'll get there in a second, but first, let's talk money.
And she'll always allow it because the people that give her all this money, they want it. That's why. Hillary Clinton has friends that want all of these provisions.
During the 2024 election campaigns, Donald Trump raised $1.4 billion. On the other side, Kamala Harris raised even more, almost $2 billion. Money, regardless of whether it's Republican or a Democrat, is a big problem in politics. Your vote, despite you probably being an honest, working citizen, doesn't matter as much. A 2014 study showed that the groups with the most power in shaping policy are economic elites and business interest groups. People with money. The votes of average people don't influence democracy as much.
I have seen firsthand how the system is rigged against our citizens, just like it was rigged against Bernie Sanders. He never had a chance.
Money has always been part of politics, but in the United States, it's grown exponentially since the 1970s. The argument for money in politics mostly focuses on three things. The first claim is that there are infinite interests in the United States, just as with politics itself. Eventually, the different business interests will not matter because they will all pull in different directions. This is a democratic element even. Another argument, especially since the 2010 Citizens United case, is free speech. Basically, government shouldn't tell people what they can spend their money on. After all, the government doesn't tell you what groceries to buy, therefore others can also spend their money for causes they say they believe in. But what about bribery? The argument is that this is not bribery, as it doesn't ask for something directly in return. Rather, proponents of money in politics claim it's a way to express your voice. Here's Barack Obama explaining what it means.
Millionaires and billionaires bankrolling whoever they want, however they want, in some cases undisclosed. And what it means is ordinary Americans are shut out of the process.
This means that those without money indeed have no voice. The argument against politics, hence, is just as compelling. The first question is what happens with people who don't have any money to spend? Will they have less say in democracy? The answer, as the 2014 research showed, is yes. And the other question is, why do millionaires and billionaires spend money on politics? Do they not expect something in return?
I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me.
So
and that's a broken system.
So what'd you get from Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I'll tell you what. With Hillary Clinton, I said, be at my wedding, and she came to my wedding. You know why? She had no choice because I gave.
By the way, that's Donald Trump ordering the Clintons to attend his wedding. Donald Trump is not alone with this sentiment, and this is where we get back to the financial crisis. This case illustrates how Charles and David Koch, two billionaires, change their ideology very fast when it's financially convenient. Let me paint a picture. It's September 15th, 2008. Lehman Brothers, one of the oldest investment banks in the United States, files for bankruptcy. Investors worldwide are stunned. You sit there and ask, if a Wall Street giant can go under, who is next? This bombshell triggers a domino effect of panic across global markets. In response, the Bush administration tries to stabilize the economy. Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson drafts a bold plan, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or TARP. This proposed $700 billion bailout aims to buy up toxic assets from failing banks, hoping to stop a full-scale meltdown. But not everybody's on board. Hardcore libertarians, funded by influential billionaires like Charles and David Koch, rail against what they see as a blatant government overreach. The Koch network, famous for championing free markets and minimal government, pushes back hard, calling TARP a bailout that violates everything conservatives stand for. Congress brings TARP to a vote. The public is divided, and so are lawmakers. On September 29th, the bill fails in the House of Representatives. The very same day, the Dow Jones Industrial Average plummets 6.8%, the largest single-day point drop in history at that time. Billions of dollars in wealth evaporate in mere hours. Among the biggest losers? Major investors, including the Koch brothers. Their business empire spans everything from energy to manufacturing. Suddenly, they rethink their position. As the crisis deepens, the Koch network, alongside other corporate heavyweights, reverses its approach. Previously vocal critics of TARP now support lobbyists and politicians urging Congress to pass a revised bailout. Within days, lawmakers reconvene, tweak the bill, and pass TARP on October 3rd, 2008. The government begins injecting capital into banks, aiming to halt further collapse. The Kochs win big, the average folks lose. They used your money to pay the bills.
And Democrats aren't entirely innocent of this in the past. And I had to raise a lot of money for my campaign. There's nobody who operates in politics that has perfectly clean hands on this issue.
As always, I don't want to just show one side of the story. Trump could drain the swamp, as he inherited many of these issues himself and not created it. If Trump would want to get rid of the swamp, he'd have to tackle 4 different things. The money problem of American politics is something Lawrence Lessig calls dependence corruption. It's a system where interest groups and politicians are dependent on one another to thrive. Businesses want favorable policy, politicians want real actions. Whether this is bribery is only a legal technicality at this point for them. Trump has 4 major ways in which he could turn this around. Step 1 is to push to overturn or circumvent the hallmark case Citizens United versus FEC. In 2010, the Supreme Court ruled in a way that removed many restrictions on corporate and union spending in elections. It brought the concept of money as speech into politics. Trump has only 3 tools here, one harder than the other. Number 1 is constitutional amendment. Never going to happen as it requires a supermajority in Congress. Number 2, Supreme Court revisit. This one doesn't happen overnight, and many of the judges are still in SCOTUS who ruled in Citizens United. Number 3, Trump could push Congress to propose strict disclosure laws or a small donor matching system to work around Citizens United somewhat. The second problem Trump has to tackle are PACs and super PACs. Currently, these action committees can raise unlimited funds. Many propose contribution caps, transparency on donors, and banning corporate donations altogether. If Trump wants to curb corruption, he could publicly back legislation capping or restricting super PACs, even if it means losing a big fundraising advantage. In step 3, Trump could limit lobbying itself. Trump could limit ex-lawmakers from transitioning immediately to lobbying after leaving office, for example. More transparency could help disclose what happens behind closed doors as well. While Trump previously campaigned to limit lobbyists, he doesn't really seem to keep that promise. Andrew Wheeler, for example, he was a former coal industry lobbyist who became acting and later full administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. David Bernhardt, a former oil and gas lobbyist, was appointed as Deputy Secretary and then Secretary of the Interior, overseeing public lands and energy development. Right now, Lee Zeldin, as head of the EPA, instructed polluters that they could bypass regulation on mercury pollution by merely sending an email to the agency requesting an exemption. Zeldin also said that he would allow coal-burning power plants to apply for exemptions for coal ash pollution. As a last resort, Trump could strengthen the FEC and the DOJ. He could push for policies to ensure that the FEC and DOJ are fully independent. Pardoning individuals, however, connected to campaign donations or personal allies, runs counter to any tough on corruption stance.
I have joined the political arena so that the powerful can no longer beat up on people who cannot defend themselves.
Trump's brand was outsider, but his campaigns and pardons suggest reliance on the very structures he vowed to dismantle. Overall, so far, he failed to drain the swamp in 2016. His second term seems to be about putting together a different one. A swamp based on loyalty and big business. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, what you think Trump's playbook could be, whether he could drain the swamp or whether he will not. And as always, I was Matt, your host, and you were watching The Y Club.